So today we're talking about facing a challenging pitcher, episode 42. We're going to be talking about communication, dialing in. We're going to be talking about spotting up the ball, which a lot of people don't really talk about when discussing facing that tough pitcher on the Lab Epstein Hitting podcast this week. We did episode 143 and we talked about facing an ace, volume 2, which was
Mm,
a lot of fun. And we talked about how to create a plan and an approach with Sandy Alcantara. And a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today is very similar to facing an ace like a Sandy Alcantara of the Miami Marlins and talking about celebrating details and understanding that certain pitcher out there on the mound. I think it all comes down to the first thing is the approach.
mm.
That a certain approach that you may have, baseball or softball, when you're facing that really challenging pitcher on the mound and somebody who can mow you down, say, or anybody really, say 12, 13, 14 hitters, 14 of the last 15 hitters in that row, in that trend. So facing a challenging pitcher, it all starts with having that approach.
For sure. And I would say something too. Softball is moving a little further away from it, I think, just because hitting is getting better and pitching is becoming a little bit more demanding. But you go into a championship series at the Women's College World Series Finals, and you're probably facing the same pitcher all 3 games. And that's unheard of in baseball. It's you face that ace, depending on where they put them, or a team has 2 aces. But when that's the case, we've always used to talk about, listen, pitchers, especially in softball, rise ball is going to be utilized. There's a ball that is going to fly out of the zone. A really good baseball pitcher is going to throw some of his best pitches that look like they're going to be a strike, but they end up out of the zone, right? So they end up hitless pitches. And so many times they want our eye to get used to following those pitches out of the zone, because it's really going to trip us up for when that pitch in the zone happens. So if you can start to have those types of approaches where you're talking to the catcher, you're saying, hey, where's the umpire calling the zone? You're talking to your teammates and saying, what is she throwing on when she's ahead? What is she throwing when she's behind? What's she throwing on that first pitch strike? Or really, how can I carve out the strike zone and say, you know what? I've watched film. Once every batter, she throws a pretty good strike here. And this is where I'm focusing on. I'm not focusing on that ball that flies out of the zone. I'm not focused on the ball that drops in the dirt. I'm aware of it, but this is the spot. This ball comes hard here. That's the curveball I'm hitting, or the screwball I'm hitting.
Mhm.
And if we can start to really study these pitchers and study these approaches, similar to how we would approach, gosh, we study more for tests in school than we do sometimes pitchers that we're
Well,
about to face.
I don't know about
Uh,
that, but okay.
well, meaning I think people kind of just go up there and say, okay, like I'm just going to see it and hit it, or I'm,
Mhm.
all those things are important.